an interesting thing too, you know, they're not like Cape Sundews. It's easy to take a Cape Sundew for granted because it just rains down 10,000 seeds, and then usually the second year you have it, you have 100 different Cape Sundews. These are related, but they're just so different. Those tubers are slowly gaining size and energy every single year. They usually don't self-pollinate. So in order to make seeds, I have to cross two different ones. So a good example here is I've got this 5-petaled Rupa and this one that has an extra petal. It's just convenient because I can always tell which ones are which. And so I just bump them together and the pollen transfers onto each flower, and then they'll make seeds. But it won't be Sundew, it won't be Cape Sundew seeds, not 10,000 million little tiny seeds that are so easy to sprout. You'll get like 10 or 20 big, chunky, well big, they're like a grain of a sand, but maybe still 100 times bigger than a Cape Sundew seed. But still pretty tiny, and difficult to germinate. Everything about them is a little bit harder than a regular sundew. So that's why if you are able to find them for sale, which is really hard actually, honestly, they're usually more like $30, $50, even $100 versus like a $10 Cape Sundew or a VCA or something like that. But that's why the difference, because they're just so much harder to grow. And the only reason I have them for sale is because I've carefully gone home at just the right times, because I used to grow these all at home or here, and cross these two different clones. Each flower only stays open for a day, so you have to do it. And if it's a cloudy day, they might not open at all. I mean, we have a little sun today, so these are all opening. Anyways, that's just a little bit about why they're a little bit more expensive when you do find them on our webpage. But back to the rosettids. That was Lowryi. What else have I got over here? This is a cross that I made, which is Squamosa bicolina. They're both related to Erythrorhiza, so they cross together. And they're still pretty pretty, but they didn't quite catch all that red of the Squamosa that I wanted. And down here a little bit more. This is another Affinis 2x-stylus. It's a larger 2x-stylus. It's probably related, but maybe its own species. If you ever see the AFF on a plant name, that stands for Affinis, which means it's related to that species. It may not actually be that species. Over here I have Affinis bulbosa, golden green form. I don't have regular bulbosa up yet. These come up and down at different times too. So some come up early and some come up later. You usually aren't going to have all of them all together, all up. So be prepared for that. There's the rosettids. Then I'll talk about the stolonifera complex. When I was a kid, Drosera stolonifera was all one species with several subspecies. And just like the Erythrorhiza, those have all been elevated. This one I believe is purpurascens. That used to be Erythrorhiza subspecies, or I'm sorry, stolonifera subspecies compacta, but then that became purpurascens, which means turning purple. You can see it kind of turning purple. This is Parecta, which sends up single stems like that. They all have a similar leaf shape and structure, which is why you can see that they're related, but you can see they're pretty different. And then this is regular stolonifera over here, the giant hills form. So beautiful. They flower up the center, and then usually 4 or 5 branches come off the base. You can see this one's farther along and this one's just coming up. You can see these 5 branches, and they're going to keep coming out like that until it's like a little sundew bush. And they can get about 1 foot tall, actually. Most of these guys bloom before their flowers come up, or before their traps come up, so they don't catch the pollinator. So a lot of times you'll see flowers first and then leaves. Another one in the stolonifera complex is Drosera rupicola. This is the one that I just pollinated, but we'll take a closer look at it now. I love these dewy leaves that look like little mouse ears. And rupicola dew is really thick. And it's interesting, whereas like Drosera capensis, the glue gets stuck to your finger really easily. The glue on this one, it mostly stays on the plant. It's like really gelatinous. The stolonifera complex can also, I don't think I can show it because it comes up earlier. It has a special mucilage that comes up on the emerging plants when they're first coming up, like this one. I don't see it here today, but it's like a thick jello-y mucilage that grows over the new plants that protects them, we think, from predation. Excuse me. So that's Drosera rupicola. And then there are some smaller ones, like this is Drosera ramelosa. And it's related to stolonifera. It's a little bit farther apart, and this one never gets bigger than that. It's so cute. This is the white flowered form of ramelosa that we've grown here at Calcarn for like 30 years. Those are the exact same ones we've had for like 30 years. So that's the stolonifera, guys. There's also vining or like clambering tuber sundews, if you can believe it. This one always shocks people. There's Drastic Gigantea, which is what I have here. There's also Drastic Macrantha. You have to be really look at them closely to tell them apart. Gigantea has little hairs on the stems and Macrantha doesn't. That's one of the ways. And this also has pink flowers and Macrantha has white flowers. But the basic thing is these long crawling stems. And they can climb, they grow like 6 or 8 feet. And they can climb all over stuff. You can see there's these short-scaped trapping leaves. And these will trap insects too, but these long-scaped leaves stick out a little extra farther. And that's so they can glue themselves to stuff. So this can climb glass or plastic, and wherever it touches the physical object, it makes a different kind of glue, and it glues itself like super glue to that. So like if it hits the ground, it'll glue itself to a rock, and you can pick it up. And you'll have to break the leaf to get it to come off. I can see if I can find one where it's glued on here. Oh, here, Daniel, come here. Right here on the edge of this tray, it's glued on there, and actually, I pull it off. Usually I take the leaf with it, but it can just stick right to a wall or a branch in nature or something like that. And then they terminate in a whole cluster of flowers, pink or white. Like I said, they haven't opened yet. Those are the climbing ones. Then there's some like semi-upright ones, we call them. There's some of those over here. Actually, yeah, so like this is Drastic peltata here. A closely related one is Drastic Hookurai. It's an unfortunate name, don't judge her. But they'll come up with a rosetted thing like that first, and then the climbing stem will come up through the center. And they usually get about 6 to 8 inches tall, and those are the easier ones to grow. Auriculata, peltata, hookurai, lunata, they're all related. They do make a lot of seeds. They are a little easier to grow from seed, and they're way more forgiving. All the tuber sundews have to dry out in the summertime, so we'll take these all out of the water and get them bone dry. And if you don't do that, they rot. But some of those, peltata and hookurai, they're a little bit more forgiving about that. You can usually get away with keeping them wet if you have to. Anyways, that's just some of the tuberous sundews that are looking good right now. We'll probably do this again in a month or so I can show you Drastic Gigantea. It's just coming up here like this asparagus, but it's going to be like a short sundew tree with branches and little sundew leaves coming off of it. I've literally been in love with these plants my entire life, and now I hope you are too.